Have you ever wondered what comics might be like if they were just a little bit darker? Have you ever wondered what the line would look like if good and bad were just blurred into a grey? Hi, I'm a pretentious prick, and today we're going to be talking about Image Comics, home of some of the best badly written comics you would ever know. Growing up, I was an angsty, idiotic teenager, and I really enjoyed reading Spawn. Now, as an angsty, idiotic adult, I can actually talk about it a little bit better and define his story. So, why don't we take a look at Al Simmons and find out what caused him to become Spawn. Recently I began rereading Spawn, and I wanted to see if it held up to my comic book standards of today, and my own tastes. Now, for those of you who don't know who Spawn is, I'm just going to give you a quick rundown. Al Simmons was the best damn assassin that the CIA had. A ruthless man with few friends, but what he did have was a loving wife named Wanda. One day, Jason Wynn, Al's boss, had Al's mission partner, Chapel, kill him for knowing too much about the US government's corruption. Sentenced to hell for his bad lifestyle, not at all helped by the killings he made while a mercenary, Al found himself in front of Malbolgia, a superior demon of hell, building an army of Hellspawn for his war against heaven. After a deal to become one of Malbolgia's Hellspawn, in return for being allowed to come back to Earth to see his wife, he awoke on Earth 5 years after his death, hideously burned from his death, remaining with his corpse body. Finding his wife remarried to his only friend Terry Fitzgerald, and being horribly disfigured, he lives a lonely life trying to get by before the time runs out and he returns to hell. Spawn has many strengths. Apart from being stronger than a normal fit man, his powers are amplified by the suit he wears, and this allows him to only die after having his head removed from his body for quite some time. Teleportation, green fire, and the chains and cape that adorn his suit are all tools of his wrath, controlled by his thoughts. He also retains the skills of his profession in life, making him highly athletic, highly proficient with all military weapons, and of course extremely stealthy from his assassinations. So now that we have his backstory out of the way, we can focus on what I think of his comic today, rereading it now that I'm older. The first thing I noticed is that the art, which I thought was really amazing when I was younger, just seems messy at this time, and the more I see Todd McFarlane's art, I just see that it seems to be all over the place. Like, there's so much happening, and whether or not this is like him trying to get all these small details in, or just trying to give it this darker look, I don't know, it just doesn't gel with me with my older age, especially having seen a lot more neater art. It does, however, make me like the fact that it does look all hand-drawn, which is something that is lost mostly for today, like how we get a whole bunch of computer-edited stuff, so that might actually contribute to the messy look. Now, Spawn's like an interesting character himself, but what really sells the comic is like not only his enemies and the fact of how evil and generally despicable they are, like the Violator, but just the characters in general. They all seem to have personalities, and even if it's just, simple ones, Sam and Twitch are probably my favourite cop duo of all time, and that's saying something. But the fact that you can, if you have an entire issue where Spawn might just be prowling around in the dark doing his brooding emo stuff that he always does, even if it just cuts to Sam and Twitch just, talking about the case, or even trying to delve and find out who this Spawn character is, it's very interesting to me. I definitely dig the whole concept, like coming back to life as part of this deal, and then all of a sudden realizing that the devil pretty much screwed you in the fact that your wife, who you loved, is now remarried and has a child with your previous best friend. That's, got to send your mind into a whirl, and I definitely love the scale of it, where it's like heaven versus hell. These are all, great things, but I can't help but think that the story, that for having such a grand scale, doesn't really do much interesting with it. It's relatively toned down, which may seem weird for like a comic about violence, and where the first arc deals with killing and pedophiles, so it's just like, I don't know, I guess I could say the writing doesn't seem very meaningful. It's like, I wish I had context to give this to you. It seems as if they're writing what they think is cool for a teenager, and let me tell you, it was at the time. But reading it now, I'm just like, oh, this is so trope heavy. Like, I don't know, it's dark for the sake of dark sometimes, and I think that, you know, it ends up becoming laughable at that. So that's not so great. Now, depending on who you ask, you're probably going to get a different answer for this, but I find street level Spawn in the earlier stories to be, you know, the weaker of the arcs in Spawn. I actually enjoy the more cosmic and fantastical approach, like when they go back in time and see other Hell spawn, or if they go to Hell itself, because it just allows for a whole bunch more creativity. And, you know, I think that's where, you know, Todd McFarlane's art actually shines, in the fact that it's not so grounded in Earth, and there's a whole bunch of magical elements to it, so he can draw whatever, and it really suits like the locale. Now, sometimes I feel that there is never a real resolution to arcs or stories, and sometimes Spawn just wanders around for a bit and gets lost, and this constitutes as 3 or 4 issues, and I don't really like that. But you're going to get a lot of those, and I don't know, it's interesting to see the Spawn character outside his, well, it's hard to say this, but comfort zone, I guess. But it's just, I don't know, he's actually one of the weaker characters of the story when he's left to his own devices. When he's not surrounded by the interesting characters and the cast that he usually is, then you usually just get with this dark, brooding guy who never really sees the positives, and that can get a little tolling at sometimes, I guess. Now, I am aware that Spawn has continued and is still ongoing to this day, but I don't think I'll pick it up. I know that there's new Spawns and all sorts of stuff, but I think that the time for Spawn for me was when I was growing up. I don't think I could deal with it following on a monthly basis, and I could only continue to read it if I was to pick it up in trade, and if I do continue, that is how I will be going about it, so don't expect me to be keeping up with, you know, what spawns out on what month. I think I was a little too harsh coming into Spawn again. I expected a whole bunch of stupidity, because the things I remembered just seemed very dumb, but when you go back and you read them in context, it's strange, but they actually do work. Anyway, this is me talking about Spawn, and I hope you enjoyed my opinion, and if you liked it, give me a like. And if you didn't like it, give me a like anyway, because I am a like whore. Anyway, thank you guys for listening, and I hope you enjoyed it. So, I'll catch you guys later, and I'll hope to do more of these.